because I'm allowing you.
You're
It's
good.
there.
Caesar's recording, and he'll just give me the. Woof. I'll send you a Google Drive for you to give it to me. Okay.
Perfect.
Oh my
You.
God, somebody in the city council who made something happen immediately. Congratulations, Caesar.
Don't look at me.
Even if it was by mistake. Okay.
Okay, let's get going because I want to get Officer DeGordo off the off the call
Yeah,
too.
so we can get some sleep. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to October meeting, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 7:35. We did send out the meeting minutes from September 27th meeting. I have one correction that Diane sent me for Women's West Side. Did anyone else have any corrections on the agenda for the last meeting? Okay, Anna is taking the minutes again. This is the second time that Anna has joined us, and we fully anticipate she will be joining us as our new secretary, and Peter will step into the long vacant at-large second vice president position. So we'll let you know how that goes next month.
Wait, I'm a motion, Philip, to accept the minutes with the correction that
I want to make the correction and then we'll accept them.
Oh, you're going to read out loud. Sorry.
Okay, so I think that's how we usually do it. So Anna, if you will mention that the correction is from last month is Women's West Side Improvement. Club membership is $20 a year for membership. And $10 a year for, quote, friends, quote, of Women's West Side. And if you want, just remind me and I'll email you that, Anna. Okay. So what we do with the meeting, with the minutes, when there's an error, is we correct it in the next batch. So we'll correct last time's this time. Who do we have? Sergeant Tagoza? Gorda, sorry. Thank you for joining us. Let's get right into you so that you can probably need some sleep.
Appreciate it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so you guys are about numbers here, as always, and I had our crime analysis ladies print out some stats and everything for me. So it looks like I'm just going over the stats, and this is from the past 30 days. Looks like everything's kind of decreased in the area. So we'll just go with incident reports in the last 30 days was 14 incident reports and 208 calls for service. These calls for service are mainly suspicious vehicles or unwanted persons. And if we want to go with the top 5 locations, because I know you like that, the top 5 locations for the past 30 days is the Baltic Kiss, which that's interesting. So that had 13 calls for service in the past 30 days. Our next in second place would be 53 Vine Avenue, which is a residence. And there was 7 calls for service there. I have no idea what those calls for service are, but it shows there were 7. And as always, Sure Stay Plus, or the Sure Stay Hotel, with 6 calls for service. And that's usually unwanted folks not paying, their fees and everything and don't want to leave. And again,
No.
Well, actually, no, not again. Let's just say for West Richmond, the Mechanics Bank. Some of those calls again were related to 3 West Richmond because some of the cars were parking in across the street there. Again, 3 West Richmond is a pain in the arse. I said arse, not the other one.
Yep.
I gotta be politically correct, right? And then we have so I know someone's favorite here, Castro and Tewksbury. 5 calls for service, right? And again, it's a constant problem with commute traffic. It's horrible. And I think two of these calls were big rigs thinking they can get their big ass arse truck through there. Which they had a call for assistance to help back them out of the residential street, which that was a pain to do. I think they had zero common sense, if I may say.
Officer Jagoda, how many calls
Yes.
from how many calls from Mechanic Bank?
There was only 6
Okay, thank
for
you.
Mechanics Bank, and I think they're related to, again, unwanted folks parking in their the little lot right across from the ATMs, right in front of the ATMs. And because I personally had to talk to a couple folks and have them move along. But yeah, I'm surprised 3 West Richmond is not on here, to be honest with you. And again, that's just me being pretty stern with John over there. He's a pain, and actually we had an arrest out of there today. So that's a problem. I if I could, change one thing about that area, that would be 3 West Richmond. Again, most of the calls in the last 30 days are suspicious vehicles, and unwanted persons. But other than that, I mean, in the past 30 days, there's been a decrease in incident reports and a decrease in calls for service in that area, and a lot of them is just suspicious vehicles, and obviously the unwanted folks, and which is going to be the homeless and the transients that live along the tracks in the 580 freeway there. So that's what I have for the last 30 days. Nothing stands out.
There was on October 7th,
Mhm.
there was a report of a shooting. It like said shots fired. It just says West Richmond Avenue on October 7th. Do you know anything about that?
So we do occasionally get because we have Shot Spotter
Yep.
within the city, and I think we're going to be phasing out of that system. It's just because it hasn't been calibrated in some time, and it's just not accurate. And sometimes the Shot Spotter will capture, let's say, backfires from car exhausts. It'll pick that up. Sometimes with all the construction in the area, the jackhammering will pick up shots fired. It'll come out as a shots fired call, but it's really just a construction or a vehicle backfiring. I haven't heard anything regarding an actual legitimate shot being fired in that area since we had the thing at Sanderling. So
And so if they're phasing it out, what are they going to replace it with?
there's a couple programs that we're looking at. I don't want to say anything right now just because I really don't know which system we're going to go with.
Okay.
Right now we have a flock system, which the city and other cities in the Bay Area are using right now, which is a really good tool, and it's really been successful in helping us locate and recover stolen vehicles. So anytime a stolen vehicle or a vehicle of high interest, to say a vehicle involved in a robbery or a carjacking, we can put that in the system, and the cameras that are spread out through the city, which also includes San Pablo, will pick it up, and we get the alerts now. We also get the alerts on our phones, and we also can get the email. So it's been a very useful tool, and it makes capturing these vehicles a lot easier.
Right.
So that's the system that we're using right now.
Great. Gary?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can.
If I can get my voice going. A question, this isn't just about Point Richmond, but and I witnessed this over at the local CVS is near us, and I'm hearing it from some other residents. What about what's going on as far as shoplifting, and is businesses really having more trouble with people actually just picking up the stuff and walking out? In fact, I saw it happen at the CVS where a couple of guys had some liquor and they just ran out the door. And I know, what are you going to do? I mean, you're not on call right there, but any sense of that as increased activity, or what the residents or what the businesses really do in that kind of situation?
Well, I mean, I think you can just turn on the news. Again, I don't like to get political, but turn on the news and you hear about all these stores being ransacked and people doing the
Right.
snatch and grabs and everything like that. You know, like I said, I'm not going to get political on that. I just think that um, I think people just feel entitled to do whatever they want, and our hands are tied when it comes to some of those things. And obviously,
No,
go ahead.
no, my question to you is you have any sense of any worse than it has been, or has this just been, has it just been a plight that we've had to deal with?
I mean, well, again, turn on the news. It's happening all over the city. It's not just Richmond. I mean, yeah, there's an increase everywhere. Businesses are looking at leaving. I mean, Walgreens on McDonald's is looking at leaving. Some other businesses within the cities are looking at shutting down or, you know, taking their business elsewhere. So, again, as you know, our department is kind of, our resources are limited right now, and we've been on a kind of a hiring frenzy. We have a bunch of new officers coming on, a bunch of officers in training right now, and we're looking at hiring probably like another, by the end of the year, probably like another 5. So
Oh,
we
good.
are trying to get our numbers up. Yeah. So it's just, yeah, I wish I could give you a straight up answer regarding that, but yeah, there's an increase in everywhere.
No, I understand, and I know you can't react to somebody running out of a store like that, but I was just curious as whether you're seeing increased activity that way or not.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay.
And the thing is that, you know, we're not going to chase these folks, right?
Right, right,
Even if
right.
I mean, we'll do our best to try to catch them, but once they jump in a car and they start driving 100 miles per hour down the street, which a lot of these folks do, right? Because they know that we're not going to chase them. And
Right.
obviously, if they get hurt while we're chasing them, then a lot of times they look at trying to sue the police or the city
Right.
because they got hurt.
Understood.
It's a very fine line that, that law enforcement has to walk sometimes, not just in our city, but there's been an increase, not just at CVS, but all throughout the city, Home Depot, right?
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Gary, both Monday and Wednesday of last week, I witnessed people with armfuls of material going out the fire doors, once at Grocery Outlet and 2 days later at Marshall's
Mhm.
with armfuls at Marshall's of clothing, as much as
Yeah.
you could carry. So you aren't alone in noticing this. Eric, I see you have a question.
I do. Sorry, working from my phone tonight, computer issues. I exited 580 in Canal last Tuesday, and there was actually probably about 15 sheriff officers. They were chasing a car coming the wrong direction. And, when you see police lights, I stopped, I pulled over. And in hindsight, I'm not sure that was the best idea because whoever they were chasing came by my car on 3 tires at about 5 miles an hour. I didn't catch anything in the headlines. Do you know what occurred that night? Or
When was this?
This was on Tuesday, October 17th at probably 8 or 9 p.m. I didn't catch a news article, but about 20 sheriffs around Canal and 580.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a day shift officer, and
Okay.
nothing was talked about the following morning or day.
Okay.
Again, if it was county chasing, then it was a county call.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't heard anything about that.
Understood. A lot of officers thought it was, and I didn't catch
Well,
a
I
headline.
mean, everything seems to funnel through Richmond. I mean, for whatever reason, if something happens in Hayward, it ends up in Richmond. If something happens out there in Vallejo, it ends up in Richmond. It always does. I don't know. It's just it's pretty fun to me, I guess.
So I have a
Right.
question. Are you done, Eric?
I am. Thank you.
So Sergeant Patchen, I think it was either this week or last week, posted
Lieutenant Patchen now.
Wait, what? When?
Lieutenant Patchen.
When did
Yeah,
that happen?
he just they just announced it. Yeah, he will be
Oh,
officially
awesome.
promoted to lieutenant, I believe on the 5th.
Oh, I'll have to wish him congratulations. So he just posted on Nextdoor in the last week that the city, you guys have been beefing up your parking enforcement and you're finally going to start doing a mass ticketing and towing event, and you're starting in the Central District first. Can you, in the limited amount of time, can you just kind of give a brief overview of what you know about what the city parking enforcement is doing and when or that might transition from the central district to our district?
Well, I know it's this, they were talking about the central district, but it's throughout the entire city. But the problem is, it's not that parking enforcement personnel has been beefed up, per se, because we only have 2 really that work. But now it's, they want all officers to start targeting, the illegal parking. This includes vehicles parked on the sidewalks, on lawns, private property, vehicles parked on the opposite side of the street or facing, in the wrong direction. So it was something that was brought up just this week, and they want us to start enforcing some of those things to, again, try to clean up the city and address that issue. But
When does
it's
it
all
start
over.
going into effect?
I'm sorry.
When does it start going into effect?
Well, we just talked about it this week, so I think it's probably going to be going into effect very soon, and I know they'll probably put an official announcement or at least something to alert our citizens, that parking will be enforced and that any vehicles that are in violation will either be ticketed or towed. So again, I can't give you an exact date and time, but I think that's going to be starting shortly, soon. And I know I've been going around red tagging some vehicles, especially some of the vehicles, the folks living in vehicles, but again, working with Core and Michelle Milam to try to relocate some of these folks. That's the issue. That's the hard part. Because we can't just displace them without them having a place to go or having a place to store their vehicle.
And so for people to know, just FYI, the shelters are completely full right now.
Mhm.
So that's also a challenge for RPD right now in clearing encampments, even with a 72-hour notice, because if they can't be offered a shelter bed and they turn it down, they can't ask them to move. So there is a fullness in the shelters at 100% capacity right now. So
Yep.
I will say this,
Thank you. Jim, did you have a question?
finally in my neighborhood, I'm so happy they went and red tagged a bunch of units. There's one silver Lexus, so he just went back to the library and parked. But real quick, I reported to Lieutenant Patchen, probably will work on it. This is amazing. There's been a car blocking a sidewalk in another part of town for 4 years in a driveway, completely blocking the sidewalk.
And I know that we need to let you go, Officer Tagorda. I'd like you to keep an eye on something to the best of your ability.
Sure.
If you could keep an eye on the area in front of the plunge, we have constant drug dealing. And we have dilapidated vehicles, but very frequently the handicap zones are filled by people without tags, or they're actually parking in I don't know what they're called, the adjacent place for the wheelchairs to go, the blue stripe zones. So that whole area, this is mostly tied in with the Todd Hotel, of course.
Absolutely.
And also along Railroad, and I'll be very careful to choose my words. It appears as though there is a truck that is piled up, a junk truck with all kinds of trash and debris in it. It belongs to the owner of the go figure, of the Todd Hotel, and people are coming and going out of that vehicle and doing some kinds of transactions out of the cab of that vehicle frequently. So maybe just keep a little glance over there. I will try to send you a photograph. That tag is expired. We also have giant vehicles parked by the elementary school, like tractor trailers and tractor trailers that drop their trailers off, and they just, from other states, and they just leave them on East Richmond. So neighbors on East Richmond are complaining that our city streets are becoming free, like basically, and this is my observation as well, a free transfer station. And some of those trailers are up on blocks, literally at the children's crosswalk.
No,
So-
and that's actually throughout the city. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure. I only know my own neighborhood, and
yeah, right. And
particularly
I'll
Smith.
definitely try to keep an eye on that. Again, the problem is that sometimes we get really busy, and again, at any given day during the day, there's only 3 of us working the south side. I try my best to cruise around the point and make my presence known. I've already spoken to John over there about everything that's been going on over there.
Thanks.
You know,
Listen,
and,
we're not pointing fingers at you. We are very well aware that
right,
we're
right. Yeah,
understaffed.
and I know I know your concerns, and I'd be concerned too if I lived over there.
Yeah.
The problem is that, you know, again, we have to walk a fine line.
Yeah, I get it.
Right?
I get it.
So,
I just wanted
yeah.
to point out that I'm just giving you the feedback from my neighbors. And so
I'll keep an eye out and do what I can.
if
for
you find yourself there with the extra 15 minutes, those are some problem zones. Thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us.
not a problem.
We know it's been a busy week.
If you want to give me a pad, I'm happy to write down and post it for you and then send you an email of where I put the stickers for the cards. I'm
Yeah,
happy.
I feel the same way.
If you need some helpers or some elves to help you with little pads of paper to put down and let them know, I'm volunteering for you.
Listen, we can sell the orange tags for $10 a piece for the Police Benevolent Foundation. That's a joke. Officer, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We know it's been a busy week, and have a safe Halloween. I know is ground zero for the cops. So good luck next
All right,
week.
you guys have a good evening, and thanks for having me again. As always.
Thank you, Officer Tagorda.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
Thanks.
So we're running a few minutes late, but we always catch up. I am going to do a few mentions on President's report tonight. First of all, and there will be emails coming, and there will be posting on social media on Nextdoor, which is what I have. And then I will ask those of you who have Facebook that involves Point Richmond to please pass these on. In the next few days, I am going to have the meeting information from Michelle Milam. She is going to be conducting, at long last, a crime and safety meeting via Zoom on Monday, November the 6th at 7 o'clock. And that meeting will be covering briefly the traffic backup on Tewksbury and Castro, because there's not really much that the police can do about that now, but she does want to make sure that she knows that our community is being heard. It is also going to discuss crime in general and how to respond, particularly as it pertains to our homeless population and drug and mental illness related issues in our community. An important part of that is that Michelle will be giving us a list of who to call when, because we have been continuously told to call mental health and call 811 and call 611 and call 211 and call CORE and it's not working. When somebody is having an issue in the town square and they're a danger to themselves or others, we need to follow the Michelle's guidelines, because it's very important that as Officer Tagorda just said, it's very important that we follow the procedure so we can get people help. And if we call the wrong people, we miss our opportunity to go through the systematic way of getting help. Later in the season, at the end of the year, the PRNC will be forwarding that information in writing to every household in the city. In Point Richmond. I do understand that if you live in an apartment building, sometimes only one goes to the registered owner address of the apartment building. So we'll make that available online as well, of course, and we will post that. That will also, once again, that will be on Monday, the 6th of November at 7. The third part of that meeting will be how we can form a formal neighborhood watch, but also an informal neighborhood watch. So how we can each participate in the process without putting ourselves in danger, without going out of our way. And this includes people like my spouse, who goes walking twice a day and reports back to me, and then I report to Michelle. and she reports to the officers. So the third part of that meeting will be what we can do safely as neighbors in our daily lives to be part of Citizens Crime Watch. The second aspect I want to point out is much more fun. It's the Fall Festival, and that's going to be happening on Saturday, the 28th. The library is doing children's story hour from 11 to 12, and then all the fun begins. And I think Karen is probably going to talk about it because the Point Richmond Business Association is organizing it. I do want to point out that the PRNC between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock is going to have 2 cakewalks, old-fashioned cakewalks. We have 8 cakes or pastry trays to give out. We will be asking for some donations for the PTA, but the donations are completely up to you. No one will be excluded. And so we look forward to participating in Fall Fest. It's been a few years since we've had that due to COVID. I'm going to skip something, and then I want to mention Judge Carroll Park. I am communicating now, Layla Dima, on behalf of soccer mothers throughout Richmond, has helped me to set up a meeting with the Parks Department. We're working once again, and I'll call Gary on this because this is an ongoing conversation. Gary has some history of walking this park. We're looking at trying to make Judge Carroll a little more flexible. So they think that we have an opportunity and that we can get the funding to possibly make a separate dog park area that will be plenty of place for the dogs, but will keep the dogs from digging and pooping where the children play, and the possibility of adding a half of a soccer, pitch, soccer field, so that there's some activity for the little kids mostly to practice soccer. There's plenty of space for everybody. And I think that the newer folks in town don't know how many years we've been looking at that park. So that's on its way. There is an adorable kitten in my neighborhood who's really friendly, a little girl kitten that looks like a tortoise, and she desperately needs a home. I can't have her in my house, but if anyone would like me to capture her in a box, which will be really easy, if you really need a kitten for Christmas, it's on my way. And then the last and best Christmas gift ever, if you could screen share that document for me. I wanted to kind of formally announce that the PRNC is doing a fundraiser with interpretive signing at the entrance to the tunnel. We are calling for sponsors. When we redid the tunnel, we realized that we could neither afford nor was it practical for us to repaint the list of numbers. It cost thousands of dollars for us. The list of donors from previous time. It cost thousands and thousands of dollars to do that, and they deteriorate. So we will be producing a national park style signage. It will list all the existing donors from the past and the new donors that are participating currently. And our call for sponsorship is the following. For $500, you or your family can be listed as a sponsor, as friends and family of the PRNC. For $750, you get your names mentioned, plus a lifetime PRNC membership. Yay! And you would have to live a very long time. And you can live to be 100, and you can still be a lifetime member. And then mostly for corporations, but anyone who has a logo that they would like to include would be a patron of the PRNC, and you would get your logo, your company's logo, and a lifetime membership for you or your organization. We already do have some corporate sponsors for that. I do see Jesse has a question, so we'll answer Jesse's question, then we'll move on to the meeting. Thanks, Lisa. Jesse?
On mute.
Jesse, unmute.
Mm-hmm.
Philip, when does this sign up for the sponsorships start? Did you say? Did I miss that?
I did not. At this point, we're asking people to call me at 593-9017 or email me at prnc.pres@gmail.com. prnc.pres@gmail.com. We already have sponsors. Lisa Johnson's been working really hard. The major corporations in town are already sponsoring. And we need to, in order to continue to do our work, and to support our community, we need funds, and we also have to plan for the other side of the tunnel when it's time to do that. So thanks for, I know I'm going real late on this.
Okay,
of
I'm
course-
unmuted.
Oh, thanks, Jesse. Of course, we will send the information on this out as I personally get my act together.
Okay,
Jesse,
yeah, you don't need to respond to this now, but I'd like to put on the table that if you're putting all that effort into doing that interpretive sign, is there any way you could get the city to improve the sign that says turn on lights? It's been in disrepair for many years. Nobody notices it. It's so dangerous when you're on Western coming up to Gerard and on the other side of the tunnel, Dornan Drive, I mean, and you just can't see the cars in the tunnel. So nobody seems to know that rule anymore, you know? So that's all I wanted to put on the table.
sure. And I'll email, or you can email me, or you can email Caesar, or I'll make a note to email Caesar to see if we can get Public Works to, you need to say to punch up or improve the
Yeah, it's
turn on
faded,
light sign.
it's small, it's faded, it's practically blends in with the, it's not even pop out or noticeable or anything.
Thanks, Jesse. Do you have any opportunity to photograph that sign? Are you still walking around?
Yes, I can do that, not immediately because I'm out of town, but I
Okay,
can do that when I get back.
I know
thank you.
who,
Text me, and when we physically forward these pictures, it makes it easier for Public Works to understand what we need.
I know who to contact. I report signage problems all the time.
Who is that?
This is James.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, James.
Yeah, that's fine. And we've got Caesar right here. So, he has the ear of Public Works as well. So thank you, Jesse. That's a really good catch. Okay, let's move on with the meeting because I talked too long. Go figure. Margie is not here, the treasurer. So Lisa, unmute.
I have her. Where did it go? Okay, so the report is $10,200 plus the money in our PayPal, so about $12,000 currently in the bank. We have a few bills coming up for the spring fling and Halloween, but we don't have invoices for them yet. So that's our report.
Thank you very much. Eric.
Sure. So we are at 170 paid members. So if you're new tonight, welcome and thank you for joining. Flat with our membership growth over the last month. Last month I reported we had a little growth from 165 to 170, but we're still at 170. So
That's
that concludes my
okay.
report.
When we're talking about these numbers, 5 new members in this day and age where people are too busy to do stuff is actually an accomplishment. So bravo to all of you. And now we have, is JC here?
I have been
Oh,
texting, emailing. I have not heard.
okay. So we're going to skip JC, who may be looking to join us. Well, she had the itinerary. I'm sorry, I worked on cruise ships for 25 years. She had the agenda. So why don't we just go ahead and skip to kind of a couple of updates from Caesar. We'll keep going. If Rich City Ride shows up and wants to do their thing, their spiel, that's great. If not, we'll invite them again a little bit later in the, or I guess early in the new year.
Next year. Yeah.
Caesar, I think we all always welcome the fact that we have a council member for the first time in decades who shows up. to these meetings. And I think that these questions and answers are probably the most important thing that the PRNC can do right now. Even though they may be a little wonky sometimes and not as interesting as having Republic Services talking about recycling. So is there anything you'd like to start with, Caesar, or can I throw out a couple of the questions from the community?
Go for it, Philip. I'm here to listen. And I've got a couple of things, but I want to listen. And we probably will have similar points there too.
Okay, so one of the things that, first of all, why don't we open it up to see if anybody, if any of the members would like to ask questions about your immediate concerns for Caesar. If not, I can go ahead with the pre-planned issues.
Fran has his hand raised.
I'm sorry?
Yes, okay.
Thanks, Graham.
Phil,
Yeah,
I have a question for Caesar. Hi,
Thank
Caesar,
you.
thanks for turning up. I'm just following up on what's happening about the Keller Beach sanitary sewerage system. We've heard absolutely nothing from the city at all for months. They're meant to have 3 meetings, and we've only, I believe, had 1. And we would just like to know what's going on. One would like to think that given the long silence, this whole idea of digging up all the roads here and spending somewhere between 90 and $200 million, pick a number, is now died and gone to bad idea heaven? Or is it still alive? Or is the city just deciding not to talk to us about it? And have you heard anything either at your level or at the city council level or at the mayor level?
Thank you, Graham, for the question. So I'll start off with, there's definitely communication. We have the, what are we calling it? And I forget the actual name of the subcommittee, but I'm going to call it the sewer committee for now, where we're going to be discussing everything sewage. And every month we meet. And the last meeting, I definitely brought this, is on the agenda. And I'm constantly pushing them. The conversation we had is staff is going to be looking into hiring a contractor or a consultant that will come in and do a peer review. Last time we met as a group, you guys had asked to see if we can do a peer review instead of getting a whole new contractor, because the current contractor, their lease or their agreement was due or was to end in June, and we obviously extended it because they needed to finish the work, but we didn't extend it to continue paying them. They just didn't get enough time to finish it because of the rainy season at the beginning of the year. But staff has committed. They will be looking to bring someone in for 2 reasons. One of them is to do a peer review, because I'm pushing this, that there should not just be one option looked at. We should be looking at all the options. And it's not just because the community is asking for it, but also because the letter that we received that was supposedly a potential lawsuit mentions from the Baykeepers that they're providing us with different options that we could look at. So the city has to take those into consideration and really look at them. So that's one piece there that will come along. And then the other is they're hiring a person to better communicate with the community, because the last person we had was not doing a very great job. As you remember, some of the information that was provided was not always accurate. So a lot of people were getting upset because they were told one thing and then something else would happen. So we're trying to correct that and then bring someone on board that's going to be a better connection to the community, and then have a meeting with this person, and then potentially have this person at every meeting here, and then being able to give an update. What I am also thinking is to do a city council item where I will ask the city, the city to not move forward with any one particular option until all options have been reviewed. So that is something that I will bring in forward. So, and the staff doesn't have this as a, it's important for them, but in terms of everything that's happening, and they know that they still have a couple more years to be able to get some of this stuff done. It's in the pipeline, no pun intended, to fix the pipes there. But it's not immediate because they still think that they have a couple more years before they need to do anything. But I am constantly bringing this up to them. It's important to you all that live there. So it's important to me, and it's going to be important to them as well. So I'll be looking to bring forward an agenda item that makes sure that we look at all the options before a final decision is made.
Thank you.
Caesar, that's absolutely great. Thank you. Look, maybe you could notify us when it does come up for a council meeting discussion, and that we could therefore turn up and provide some support to you, and also ask some questions and get more clarity from the people who are meant to be running the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Yes, I would definitely, I need all of your support, so I will definitely be letting you know. And then one thing I'm also going to be working on is try to make sure that we get the answers to the original questions on the list the group had made. I apologize, I was trying to get to that last week. And then my fellow council members put up another agenda item that took a lot of my time for the past couple of days. So, but I will get those answers to you.
Thank you. Thanks for that question, Graham. I want to clarify because I see some new faces. The urgency for the taxpayers and the residents on the replacement of the sewer line is multifold. One is that it's going to cost a fortune for many of the homeowners and may be prohibitive. But the other one is the concern that if, in fact, this pipe is actually damaged and it breaks, that the city will immediately only put into effect the one, probably, I think it's safe to say, ridiculous proposal that has been investigated. So I just wanted to clarify for the group here that that's what we're talking about. Our fear is, and not to jump on Caesar, but because he's on this, but to try to stress to the city the fact that they might be putting themselves in a situation in an emergency where they only have one solution because they've only explored one solution. So the Keller Beach neighborhood has been really active on that. This could be $100 million project. So it's really going to affect everyone in the city, although it will directly affect people who are concerned about the environment and the homeowners. And in the meanwhile, no one can build there. And that's not fair either. So I just wanted to bring that to people's attention. Gary, you had a question for C's. Thanks, Graham. Oh, by the way, we do intend to cover this every week. The reason it was not agendized is that Charmaine, who would cover it, is out today. So that's why we didn't, every meeting, that's why we didn't cover it. Hey, Gary.
Okay, maybe I'll hold my, I'm okay. I'll hold my comments to afterwards. I know Caesar knows that Mira and I have been working with her on this whole resolution in the city council, which he's going to talk about. I'll save my comments for after that.
Any other issues? Okay, Caesar, I know that we're being followed. I'm not seeing everybody on my screen, but there was some question about the mature trees. Although we know that they were not particularly healthy, that were removed at the site of the Prologis gigantic fortress that's being built on the corner across from the Chevron station. And it was a little unclear to the neighbors whether or not their encroachment permit to tear up the sidewalk, which is temporary for the construction project, included removing those trees. There was people wondering if the trees were supposed to be saved and replanted, or if it had been decided that they would be replaced with new trees.
Thank you, Philip. I spoke with Prologis, and I'm not sure if the individual is on the call here today, but one of the individuals that had raised that concern originally, we walked the site to review it. And then in my meeting with Prologis, I asked them, and now for some context here, this is a project that was approved, I believe, a year or two ago. and it also came to the neighborhood council. So just so everybody knows, it didn't just happen, and it wasn't me who approved it. So it happened a while ago, and they just take time to get to it. But they did, and what they, according to the report that they showed me, and some of the verbiage on there too, and you know, when you get to legal language, it's a whole new language there. But from what I understand, is that the trees were to be looked at by an arborist, and then a recommendation to be made. And the ultimate recommendation is that all of those trees there were not healthy. So they decided to remove them because that was allowed a part of the permit. So if the recommendation came back that they were not healthy, then they could be removed and then replaced. I believe they removed a total, and don't quote me because I don't have the data, and I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, but I believe they removed about 12 to 15 trees, and they're going to be planting about 30, 35, almost 40 trees in the area that is their property. And that includes the sidewalk and within the new parking lot that they're building. So we are getting additional trees than we had before. And then they're also committing to taking care of the trees. The city was not doing a very good job, so a lot of those trees were stunted. They weren't watered, et cetera, et cetera. So anything on the sidewalk was just not very good. So new trees will be coming, and then they'll be taking care of them. Now the trees that were on the median, those were removed, and it looks like only one tree possibly was removed, and that's because they got the okay to make that into a left turn lane. So in order to make that into a left turn lane, they had to remove the tree because that becomes the left turn lane. So I was hoping they were going to plant more trees there, but they can't because that will now be a left turn lane. But we are getting a new amount of trees planted within the property. So overall, the community will be getting new trees.
Thank you, Cesar.
If they would be able to give us a further community benefit. And they said, well, we already gave you a community benefit. And I said, yes, but I haven't had a chance to ask for one. So I'm always going to ask. And I'm asking to see if they can do anything to help with traffic flow. One of them potentially then pitching in some money in a traffic circle, traffic something in one of the intersections that we know needs some help. And I'm still in talks with them. So if they're able to pitch some money as the first talk, and then if they say yes, then I'll be coming to the neighborhood council to make sure that you guys are okay with it and the location. And then the design of it. I know, Philip, you and I have been discussing some locations that would probably work, and then what they will look like as well. So trying to get some funding for it other than coming to the city. The other is the bike lanes. They were not aware of some of the bike lanes because when they originally received the approval, some of those bike lanes were not there. So I let them know. And now they're aware of it, and I'm also letting them know and I let them know that the neighborhood council is not very happy with all the bike lanes. You want bike lanes, but you want to make sure that you put the bike lanes, and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, Philip, but let me know if I misspeak. But you want the bike lanes where they were originally approved, and either on one side or the other side, but not every side. And I'm also asking them for money. So if we need to redo the bike lanes, I already asked the city, and the city said we have no money. So twofold here, if Prologis is not able to give us funding for trying to reduce some of the bike lanes, then the good thing is RM3, which is Regional Measure 3, has a lot of money that's coming to Richmond. This is a regional measure that was approved by voters many years ago. And those funds were stuck in a lawsuit. The court released the funds in January. And what that is going to do, it is releasing funds to various communities. All 9 counties in the Bay Area were part of Regional Measure 3. And Richmond is getting, don't quote me on the numbers again, because trying to remember, but I believe we're getting $180 million, maybe $170 million, and $10 million of that is going towards bike lane and in the intersections of various freeways. And in Point Richmond is one of the locations that we can look at bike lanes. So we could either use that. So we'll have to jump on this because other people are going to be trying to. But the money has not been given out yet, which is good. But we want to start having those conversations to make sure that we get some of those funds to allocate to do the bike lanes correctly. Those same funding is going to be used for the bridge. Both looking at the toll lanes, and it's already on the news because of the accident that happened several weeks ago. So they're going to be removing the toll lanes and then restructuring the lanes themselves. Because right now, when you're on 580 approaching the bridge, 580 has 4 lanes that turn into 7 lanes, then right now turn into 2 lanes. So that just becomes a big mess, right? Just there, you're not even on the bridge yet, that just becomes a big mess. So removing the toll lanes is going to make it easier for people to cross, and then not having to merge out and merge back in is going to make it easier for people to travel as well. So there's going to be funding for that. And then the additional funding, and this is something that I'm going to be fighting Marin on, and we already started the conversation, not fighting, but we're partnering. And I spoke to them about equity, and I'm speaking to the different agencies. I spoke with MTC, I spoke with ABAG, and I let them know about equity. And I said, right now, Marin is getting $240 million, Richmond's getting 180. Where is equity? The backup on 580 goes into our streets and directly into our homes because we live right next to the freeway. On the Marin side, they want to use it to fix their overpass, but nothing there is effective because people don't live that close to the freeway. So I'm asking to see if we can flip around the funding. We get the 280 and they get the 180, or we figure out a different number that's a little more fair. They're not going to want it, but I'm hoping we get there somewhere in an agreement.
Plus they got the 3rd lane.
And then that's the 3rd lane. So that is part of it. So the reason I'm asking
for a loved one is often forgetting things or suffering with brain fog, then you must see this. After 3,400 brains.
Oh.
Jeff, I
Jeff,
think
that may have been coming from you.
I think Jeff, I think that's coming from you. So the other part of the conversation is the bike lanes. Many people like the bike lanes. Some people want to make sure that we're able to commute back and forth a lot easier. So that conversation is up with Caltrans. I don't want to give out their spiel, but in November, you'll hear more about their plans and their study of the bike lanes. Right now, the conversation that we're trying to have as well to try to still keep a bike lane, potentially use the zipper lane, to where in the morning, the zipper opens up the 3rd lane and a bike lane opens up on the bottom. And then it flips depending on the commute hour. Caltrans believes it's going to be very expensive, but maybe we'll have the funding. And also they believe it might be very heavy, but those conversations will still need to be studied. But that's one of the reasons why we want to have the money come to Richmond so that we can deal with the bike lane and potentially put the bike lane down below and up above. And again, the zipper will open and close. So that's part of the conversation as well. And some of the funding will come from Regional Measure 3. The other piece of Regional Measure 3 funding, $75 million, will go towards Richmond Parkway. Please look out. There's going to be further community input needed. Anything you need on the Richmond Parkway, and that includes Castro, because it all ultimately becomes Richmond Parkway. They want your feedback, and that plan will be given to the city of Richmond so that we can then restructure the parkway. And that's going to go from Highway 80 to 580 and everything in between.
Caesar?
Yes, Dylan.
Will you make extra sure that it's, with all the billion other things in your 6 other neighborhoods, that we know as soon as you know that there is a call for feedback? Because sometimes the city does it in a way that there's there's a new city website that is not intuitive to use. And they used it for the bike lanes, and it was so hard to use that some of us ended up feeling like the city was deliberately trying to offer feedback but make it impossible to give it. So let us know, as our council member, please, how we can give feedback and when we need to show up in mass and city council meetings. And all of this anger is going to need to turn into neighbors showing up at public forum to remind the council that this is a real issue. And the same with Keller Beach. At some point, we're going to have to get off our rear ends and go to one of these hellacious city council meetings. So thanks for that. Lisa, I know you have a question and Jeff has a question.
Yeah, mine's just real quick. We just had another Veolia alert while we were sitting here. Do you know the latest reason why they continue to have these spikes and rapid drops after hours when they're not actively cleaning things?
Yeah, they won't give us the answer, but Mary, who is works for the city, she pretty much says that after hours, because there's no one there to actively monitor it. So if something happens, something gets stuck, they need a human to come out and unstuck it. That's not even the right word, but they to make sure that it works again. They have to wait a couple hours for someone to come over.
It resolved itself already tonight.
And sometimes they do, and then we can get another one in a couple of minutes. I never know. I know that I was tracking it while I was in China. I was tracking it, and I was on emails, and I was escalating those emails because there were so many. And they know that I'm very upset. And Mary and the staff, by the way, they're like, we love watching your emails because they don't listen to us, they listen to you. We're trying to get resolution. And what I need them to do is ultimately have a human being there at the plant 24/7. And if there's something happening where they're working on it, to let us know, let me know, so that I can let the community know. What happened 2 weeks ago while I was in China, that we got a bunch of alerts. We're ultimately redoing the plant in pieces, and they are failing to plan ahead. So while they're removing a piece here, I don't have all the terminology, but while they're removing a piece here, maybe something breaks, they're not ready for it. So now it's going to break. They need a couple of hours, a couple of days for it to be fixed. They don't have enough chemicals. These were all the responses that I was getting from them. And I'm telling them, you have to plan. Do not go into making updates to the plant unless you are ready to intervene in case something happens. And this must be escalated. They also know that they are a risk at being put out to RFP. And they've never been at risk. So now they're paying a lot more attention because they know that the council members now, especially led by me, we're going to have those conversations, and they've never had them before. So before it was like, yeah, well, it smells, it's a sewage plant. And that's not okay. The sewage plant that I used to be part of, the West County wastewater one, we've never had that before. So we're going to work on making this plant not be as stinky and making sure that it processes everything a lot easier, and that these alerts start going away, and that we plan ahead.
Thank you, Cesar. We're lucky to have you with your sewage experience. We have, that didn't come out well, but we're lucky to have someone who is an expert on sewage treatment plants, who is now
it was
community.
It was a shitty job, but somebody had to do it, and I'm glad to continue.
We do have our guest from Rich City Rides, and I see we have a couple questions for Cesar. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pop right over to Nahari Smith, and I'm going to ask Nahari to jump on, and I'm going to ask a question for him, and then we'll go back to picking up a couple, let Cesar go home and go to sleep. Nahari, are you available to unmute?
I am available to unmute. My camera is off though. I want to maximize the amount of Wi-Fi that I
Right, your picture is handsome. So here's the situation we've got. We move forward without because we gave the time to Caesar. So I want to give you the option. One option is that we just get a brief review from you and then some brief questions and answers. Which I think would be a great start. And then optionally, we can invite you back again if you want more time. So I don't know how long your presentation was intending to be.
well, tell me how much time I got, and I'll try to adhere to that.
I think that our community would be happy, to extend the meeting by 10 or possibly 15 minutes total with questions and answers. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so we're gonna we'll briefly go to Jeff and Anna, and then thank Caesar and let him go to sleep. And we'll run this meeting a little late. Jeff?
Yeah, just since we were talking about transportation, I wonder if there are any plans for repaving Point Richmond?
There are plans to repave the whole city. Unfortunately, we don't have the money. We need $40 million to repave the whole city, and that's to bring us to a state of an okay in paving. Right now, we're in the 60s PCI, I believe is what it's called, the pavement index. We want to bring it up, and I just a couple of days ago, I was chatting with a public works director to see if we can do something similar that Orinda had done. And that's where he comes from. So he's like, actually, I did that at Orinda. So I'm like, perfect, do that for us. You went from having, I think Orinda was in the 40s, 50s. They had horrible streets, and he brought them up to between 80s and 90s. So we want to, the best, the higher the number, the better. So he's coming up with the plan. He's already been given that guidance several months ago, and he's doing a plan for the whole city. So they're looking at the streets that need the most fixing first, and then working from there. The budget we gave him is $4 million, and the budget we need is 40 million. So that kind of tells you, right? It's going to be a small percentage. We're not going to see all the streets fixed yet, but we're going to be working towards that. We have the next budget session coming up. We have additional funding that's out there. So we have to figure out where do we put the money and how do we spend it? And then where do we go and how do we spread it around the community? The next session will be potentially a quick ballot measure that just goes to fixing potholes and nothing else. We fix, we go, and we go away.
Thanks. Anna?
Hi, Cesar. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to also thank you for last night. I actually stayed up till 1 a.m. and watched everything. Quickly, I just wanted to double check. Did you say 75 million would be towards Richmond Parkway?
Yes. I don't have my numbers in front of me, but I can share that. But it was about 75 million, if I remember correctly, was going to go towards Richmond Parkway.
So 75 million-ish. Okay. All right. Thank you. And then Lisa, you said Veolia?
Veolia, Veolia.
Thank you.
That's V as in Victor.
Thank you.
Well, I think that everybody can admire Caesar, who is operating on zero sleep. There's a lot of facts in his head, and I want to show appreciation. We're not his only neighborhood. So he's attending how many? 5 other meetings like ours?
6.
So he's got a lot of neighborhoods, and they're far apart. And I think it's pretty remarkable that you can answer so many questions off the top of your head. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all that you do. And thank you for continuing to put your face in front of your constituency. It's very important to us. And go to sleep.
Well, I can't go to sleep just yet because I'm the one recording.
Oh.
But
well, you can walk away. You can walk away,
and I'll call you and wake you up when the meeting is over.
Yeah, shut your camera off and go chill.
So let's go ahead and skip back, and we will go to Najari, is it Nahari or Najari?
It's Najari.
Najari. So we'll go to Najari, Najari, Najari Smith, who make a very brief presentation on behalf of Rich City Rides. And then, of course, we'll have you back for a longer presentation in the future. Welcome.
Thank you. I was just renaming my little box over there. Caesar, always good to see you. My name is Najari Smith. I'm the founding executive director of Rich City Rides. We have a number of different programs that we offer the community. We are currently, I'm going to put this in the chat. We have a petition going on right now to help keep the biking, walking trail on the bridge. We've been able to get over 2,600 people to sign this petition so far. If you care about having the bike path on the biking and walking trail on the bridge, please sign that petition. I liked a lot of what Caesar presented. I would love to see that math flip to where 240 million is going to Richmond and Marin can get that 180. We've been advocating, my organization has been advocating for the bike and walking trail on the Richmond San Rafael Bridge since the ribbon cutting for it 4 years ago. We've written the bridge at all different times with groups. I've just recently we did a ride over the bridge and I was able to see that there's a lot of people that fish right by that right over on the San Rafael side. We saw that there's also a need to make it more visible. The barrier kind of blends in with the car side. So if we want to get people to use the bridge more often, in fact, I'm in support of the zipper lane, because riding along with traffic is better than riding against traffic. You have the lights that make it hard for you to see as a cyclist. I wanted to uplift the point that, for every person that's choosing to ride over the bridge, that's one less car that's creating traffic. It's more parking spaces for everybody. On our petition, we had numerous comments from people saying that the bridge has allowed them to use a bicycle to come into Richmond and stop and become a customer of many of those businesses, to purchase from those businesses to see what Richmond has to offer. So I'd like to maintain this regional asset. It connects the Bay Trail, the regional Bay Trail. In addition, we have a lot of programs that we use in order to encourage more people to choose a healthy green mode of transportation, which bicycles are. I invite you to take a look at our website, richcityrides.org. I'll drop that in the chat. And come check out one of our events. We do rides on the first and fourth Sundays, and we have a lot of other activities where people can share skills on how to repair bikes. We do those at Unity Park, at the Rich City Rides Unity Park Bike Hub. With that, I want to open it up to some questions, if there are any. In the meantime, I'm going to look up that website and drop it in the chat, as I said. Social activities are extremely important, especially with the amount of disconnect that's occurred during COVID. That's Jeff. I see your hand up.
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
So, is the purpose of your coming here to get Point Richmond neighborhood to back the same resolution that we did at the Human Rights Commission? Is that what you're asking for?
No, the petition is for the bike and walking trail on the Richmond San Rafael Bridge.
That's what we did at the commission as well.
Which are you talking about? The
Human Rights Commission, it was a question about whether we supported the continuation of the bike path over the bridge.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
is that what you're asking us to approve? Is because that's what there is some debate over, I guess.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was seeking support. What I would like to ask from the neighborhood council is if you would approve a letter of support for our campaign for the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. You know, I'd also like to invite you all to come out. We have an event. It's going to be the 4-year anniversary of the bike path on the bridge, or bike trail, excuse me. And you know, we're expecting there to be about 1,000 cyclists out there for the day. Should be a really beautiful event. We're going to be there will be a when I hear there's going to be an after party that's happening at East Brother. Yeah, so it's a fun thing.
The celebration, I missed that. I'm sorry.
What's
Do you have
that?
a date? Do you have a date for the celebration you just said, the event?
Yes, I put the event in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's it's happening Saturday, November 11th. We're meeting at the Richmond BART station at 11 a.m. And we'll have several hydration stations lined up on both sides of the bridge. And should be lots of music, fun, and bikes.
Great. Anna, does that answer your question for the minutes?
Thank you, yes.
I have a quick question. We've been seeing some change.org petitions in our community. And what we find is that on change.org, like-minded people will spread those petitions out to the entire country. So you might get 2,000 signatures, but there might only be 100 from Richmond. What percentage of the change.org petitions do you think are coming from Richmond? And why isn't Rich City Rides actually polling Richmond people directly instead of spreading this out to people who are not affected? Let me rephrase that. That people that are not directly affected by some challenges that bike lane provides. I'm sure you're aware, and even though you came in late, that we have a crisis of safety in our community to traffic backups. I am not suggesting, or I have no opinion as to whether or not the bike lanes are responsible for that, but many in the community feel that they are. So to reiterate my question, why a change.org petition that goes all over the world and not something specific to Richmond?
I'd like to come back to you with,
Okay.
with actual numbers of folks that are signing the change.org that
Okay.
are from Richmond.
We're just curious if, and I guess one more question is, does Rich City Rides receive city taxpayer money?
City taxpayer money, we receive money from the state.
Okay, do you receive money from Richmond that you're aware of?
Not current.
Okay, that's great to know.
Outside of like individual donations.
Right, and I do want to, because I know that we're running late and that's actually on me. but I wanted to give you some time to speak. I do want to let you know that it is quite obvious that our local restaurants, particularly some of our coffee shops, are quite busy due to bicycle traffic. Anyone who's seen Cafe Roma on a weekend, they have lines out the door, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see local people seeing business from even with some of the challenges that we have with the bike lanes. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. You're always welcome back, and hopefully we can schedule a more casual meeting for you.
Okay, I'd like to come back and
Thanks.
bring you those numbers too.
I'm just curious.
As you pointed out, a lot of those, I imagine that a lot of those new customers are coming from over the bridge.
Oh, no doubt.
Discipling groups that are coming here
or they're going over the bridge one way or the other. They're coming through town.
They're making a stop. They're hungry. They're thirsty. They're looking for a good time. And here we are, well positioned.
Right. We want to acknowledge both the challenges and the opportunities.
I'm sorry, I cannot find my hand raising button. Jesse,
go ahead, Jesse.
I just want to say, I'm not at all prepared, Najari, for us to sign a letter of support from the city council. It's very contentious. Part of the reason is that I live right downtown. Weekends are very successful. I see so many people enjoying that bike lane. Weekdays are a whole different story. And I just want to point that out. The numbers I've seen, it's not well utilized on weekdays. And so I just want to throw that on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. You picked up something that I dropped, which was that I wasn't sure if Najari was asking for our individual support or our neighborhood council support. Just so you know, the neighborhood council would vote on a letter of support, and we can certainly pick that up if that's what you're asking us to do.
I invite individual support, but I would love and appreciate and be honored to have a letter of support from the Point Richmond neighborhood.
Okay, so that will need to be an agenda item for our for a future meeting. Because we have to tell our community that we're asking them to vote on something.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah, pleasure to do that. Thank you so much for joining us. For all of you who've stayed on to speak now, we're going to just move through as quickly as we can. I apologize. I think this was a pretty important meeting, particularly to have Caesar here, but I also wanted to give Rich City Rides an opportunity. Charmaine from CERT has asked me to mention that CERT is still doesn't have their next meeting scheduled, and they're working on a schedule for the next meeting. Anna, did you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is my hand up? No, I do not.
That's okay. Karen's here from the PRBA. She's super busy with lots of activities for Halloween. What's going on with you, Karen?
Okay, well, Point Richmond Fall Fest this Saturday, wee! 12 to 5, all sorts of fun activities. I'm going to be the MC. I'm going to be dressing up like a 1905 early member of the Women's West Side Improvement Club. And I'm going to we're going to have a fun time. At 5:30, I'm leading the 7th annual Point Richmond Haunted Halloween History Hike. I've almost sold out in advance tickets, so should be a fun crowd. PRBA, we've been pulling our hairs out trying to organize this Fall Fest. It hopefully goes off without a hitch. So yeah, I hope you all can attend on Saturday the 28th, 12 to 5, right downtown.
Everybody be there, be square. Kids and adults are encouraged to wear their Halloween costumes if they're inclined.
Yep.
History Association, Bonnie Jo, are you with us? Yes. Have we lost Bonnie Jo? Because I'm sorry, I know it's past everyone's bedtime. Bonnie Jo, we'll come back to you.
She's muted. Looks like she's on mute.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. I'm here.
Hi, dear.
Okay, I just wanted to point out that the History Association newsletter is happy to include the activities of not-for-profit organizations in Point Richmond. And that's just another vehicle for advertising the activities that organizations have coming up. The newsletter is published every couple of months, and in each newsletter is a deadline for submissions. So you kind of have to think in advance. For instance, the next coming up newsletter will be for November and December. If organizations have activities that they want to advertise that are coming up in those couple of months, they should email the information to Gary Shows, and he's happy to include that. That's
Thank
it.
you. And I wanted to thank Bonnie, Joe, and Jim and the History Association for compiling interesting history on the tunnel and old photos on the tunnel that we will be including on our interpretive signing. So that signage that I mentioned earlier will contain a history of the tunnel, a history of the Point Richmond Neighborhood Council, and again, your names as sponsors and the names of previous sponsors. Gary, did you have a question for Bonnie Joe?
Just a follow-up. I forgot. I stepped away for a second. What did Karen say the times were on Saturday?
Noon till 5.
Got it. Thanks. Thank you.
With the library doing children's story hour from 11 to noon.
Well, I'm young in spirit.
Okay, and I'd like to see you dressed as maybe an athletic tennis player. You can borrow a headband from me, Gary, as your Halloween costume. Magic Lantern has asked me to mention that they had a great turnout for their Irish film, which was called The Quiet Girl. And that was just passed last week on October 21st. The next film will be November 11th. I don't have a title yet. And it looks like they're all going to be moving forward with the Methodist Church, which is a really comfortable place to hold those films. Pram, Layla has a small kid, so I really appreciate her having the energy to stay up. And I'm sorry again for how late this is running.
That's okay. I'll be quick. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for this meeting. This has actually been a great meeting. And thank you, Caesar, for doing everything you do. I'm part of Pram and also Washington PTA. We just appreciate the new signage at the crosswalks. We'll be looking forward to walking our children on Halloween during the parade, starting at 10 a.m. through the business downtown, collecting candy. Then we're doing a little dance at the school. And then at Pram, we'll be doing a potluck and a costume contest. And then, of course, the kids and families will be running around in the neighborhood. And thank you for our neighborhood for, all your wonderful decorations, everything. And just we've had our first meeting at Pram this year to be official. Our president and everybody excited. We have plans to revamp Pram, and we are going to be asking for grants soon. So we'll be looking for that. And again, just thank you for your support, and we're seeing you at the Fall Fest.
Thanks, Layla. Could you mention what time the children's activities at Pram begin prior to the trick-or-treating?
Yeah, Pram starts at 4.
So at 4 o'clock, there'll be a
6-ish.
4 to 6, a potluck and Halloween party, followed by trick-or-treating.
Yeah, and then everyone just goes off. No haunted house this year. Just a regular, just a little party, and everyone can go off from there as a starting point.
We can desperately try to find at least one house in the neighborhood that's decorated for Halloween. Gary?
Yeah, sorry, I'm back on. Hey, Layla, I just want to mention, we did do some trimming over there around the landscaping around the Pram. And also there was a big tree that's hanging over the building. And I'm still trying to get the city to react. We got the tree cut down on the corner, but we're still working to try to get that tree that overhangs you trimmed. So
wonderful. Thank you, because I used to have the work order on the app. And I look at
It's,
it every
yeah,
day.
that's an accident
So
waiting to happen.
I appreciate you guys, and just again, thank you again.
Thanks for
Oh.
hanging in there, Layla. We have nothing from LUDRC. And I just wanted to mention again, normally we would have a Keller Beach update, but we did that with Caesar. I want to segue for a quick second since we're running so far over. I haven't forgotten you, Lisa. Because Layla mentioned the traffic crosswalks, we are aware, and Caesar and the city is aware, that this is a work in progress. And some of those traffic barriers have been knocked over. One was knocked over by a bus, and one was knocked over by someone doing the sideshow. They did a donut in the middle of the street, and they knocked the cone out of the I don't know what they're called, the cone out of the crosswalk. It is a work in progress. Let's be positive that we're getting there. So that was something that we had moved on from. And now the Homeowners Association with Lisa.
Yeah, can you reach out to Jacqueline and ask her to provide an update? Perhaps we can try and see if she can do it December 6th on the Ferry Point lift station. There's some concerns about what happened again.
Is that question to me?
Yeah, so you're
Okay, so when you ask me to reach out to someone, I will say yes. I will delegate that to my vice president. Or we will do it together.
You have her contact info, so that's the.
I do, but I also will. I think we should loop Caesar in, because my impression was that she may no longer be
with
contact person.
Okay.
So Caesar, are you still with us? I think you stepped away.
I'm here.
Caesar, do you think Jacqueline is still the contact person on the, what is it called?
Ferry Point sewer lift station that they were redoing at the intersection of Brickyard Cove Road and Dornan Drive?
I'm not sure if she's still the contact. I can ask. What was the question on it, Lisa? Or you want to send me an email on it, or?
Yeah, there were some agreements between the city and some people that met on this, and it's not, they didn't do what was agreed upon.
Lisa, do you mind formulating that email and copying me and Caesar?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, and I'll ask for an update on that, Lisa.
Okay. All right, I'll forward you some communications.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got a bad cough. Maskers, Fran?
And here I am ready to say thank you all for those of you who started coming back when the first night we opened after COVID ended. We had 13 people in the seats. Since then, the productions just keep bringing people in. Our final production for this season is November the 3rd. It opens November the 3rd, the 4th, that weekend, and it's Mona, and it will be the final production for this year. And now the selection committee is working on next year. So please come and see Mona. Okay, that's it.
Fran, could you give us a word on what the play Mona is about?
I wish I could.
Okay.
I'm not the director. I'm not a participant. I'm just the president of the board, and that's all I can say.
Well, we enthusiastically encourage our constituency to Google it.
Okay. Okay. Maybe
right.
Jim knows. Jim, do you know? I'm asking Jim if
Karen
he knows.
Yeah.
Oh, Karen knows?
Yeah.
Karen.
It's kind of a fun farce about a woman who gets accused of murder and of her husband of like half an hour or something. It's very comical and lots of wacky characters, and yeah, it should be really fun.
Are you in it, Karen?
What?
Are you in it?
Oh God, no. My
That's wacky character.
Yeah.
Sounds up your
I know. Typecasting. I know. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, I'm here.
Hi,
Cordell.
Cordell. You were concerned because you were late, and I'm dragging.
I know. So, but I do have the report for the RNCC, so I'm gonna try to keep it as short as I can. So here it is. So at this month's meeting, we had the turnout, the attendance has gotten better. So we had 25 on Zoom. So we kind of did a little of a switch of the agenda. So for as presentations, we had the folks from West County Wastewater District to talk to us about what they do, like as it relates to, like kind of like when we had Chevron came last month to talk to us about the wharf, but it's a little different. So like, like flushable wipes, that type of thing, like for that type of thing. So you get the idea. So, and then we had some good questions from the membership. So that's one. And then the second one was we had city staff gave their reports, and what else? Oh yes. So under old business, we implemented some new policies, how the RNCC gonna be, structured, like membership wise. So that's another one. Then under new business, we talked about our annual Christmas party, which is gonna be December the 11th. The venue has not been chosen. They have not chosen a venue yet, so that's still in progress. So it should be finalized by next month. So, and then also under new business, I had mentioned to the group to the board about inviting community villages to come and talk to us at a future date to tell us about their organization and what they do, how it addresses mental health, vocational training, that type of thing. So that was one suggestion. And then other than that, our next meeting will be November the 13th at 7 p.m. via Zoom or hybrid, whichever is convenient for them. So with that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Looks like we don't
No
have
questions
any questions.
I said no questions from the membership.
No, there you go. Let's go on to what I think is exciting news from Gary.
Oh, I'm not sure which one that is, but I have a couple things.
Okay.
I apologize for missing last month's meeting, but a couple things. And we talked a little bit about the Judge Carroll corner, and Phil, we need to talk about that because the good news is that finally we got the big tree is gone. It was really a problem there. And we really haven't finished any design of what we're going to do in that corner. We've had some conversations around that, but we should talk more about that. Also, we did finish a clean fall cleanup. You may have noticed a huge pile of leaves and stuff that was down in the corner by the bank, and it was there only for about 2 days. So so that's all done. So please enjoy the plunge. Also, pickleball has come to town, and it's very has a lot of interest across the country. What we have done on the upper court, at the 2 tennis courts at the plunge, is put tape down so people who want to play pickleball could play pickleball using those lines. And not that everybody cares about the specifics, but the net is actually 2 inches shorter for pickleball, and we actually put a net cord on the net, so actually you can break it down 2 inches if you want to play pickleball. So it's experimental. We just wanted to ask people to try it and let us know if they wanted to make that permanent or not. So more to come on that. Tennis has been very busy. The good news is we finally gotten the youth program started back up. It kind of stopped after COVID, and then the rec department lost their instructor. We've started up now. It's as school started, so we got like 15 kids out there, but it's going to continue to grow. And that's at Nickel Park up in the center of town. The other kind of cool stuff is we've actually had 3 teams, a men's team, a women's team, and a mixed team this year that all won their East Bay Championship. And I generally send that along to Prnc. Congratulations to all the members. Not me. I don't play on many of those teams. I play in the geezer team, but so it's been very successful, and very pleased about that. The last thing I wanted to say is I promised Marin and Cesar. I don't know if Cesar is still on. We worked a lot with Cesar for a couple of days when we heard what the resolution was going to come for the city council, and Marin and I had some definite opinions about that, and we were working with Cesar trying to figure out what direction to take differently than what it was originally proposed. And some of you may have been on last night. I was on for a long time before I finally went to sleep. And unfortunately, anyway, forget that. It wasn't the way we would like to pass it, but Maren asked if I would make sure to read in for the record. I want you to know, here's a record that Maren and I both sent to the city council about the resolution, and it reads like this. This resolution only provides support for the Palestinian people of Gaza and the suffering they're going through. It should support all the innocent civilians on either side of this conflict that have been or will be impacted by the conflict. It includes the non-terrorist Palestinian citizens, as well as the Israeli citizens that have been impacted by the horrific acts of Hamas on October 7th. Just want to read that into the record. And it's a horrific thing, as you all know, and there's no easy answer here, but that's what we had hoped to see, something more even-sided about that last night. That just didn't happen, unfortunately.
Thank you, Gary.
Yep, you're welcome.
And you know, that resolution made the news. I was watching Channel 2 News this morning, and they had the clip about the Richmond City Council.
It is such a divisive thing in the city. That's all I can say about it. I don't want to go on long. It could go on a long time to talk about this. My problem is it just is a divisive thing in the city. A lot of people have a lot of things to say. That's important. But you know, this just came across as something that does not help bring Richmond together. That's all.
No, I think Caesar and Sue read a comment from Sean Dunning about the resolution. I think Caesar and Sean, I think they were in the right place there.
Yeah. Yeah. More to come on that for sure.
Philip, there's a clip on Channel 2 News where they have you speaking.
Oh, really? I'd
Yes.
like to see that. I got a call from London this morning from a friend of mine who's active in the synagogue in London. So this is international news. But that's not for the neighborhood council meeting. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah,
If you have that statement written down and you could either photograph it or send me the text so that I can forward it to Anna, I think maybe it would be easy, Anna, for you to quote him. If that's
I'll send it to you. Sure.
In any form.
We actually
okay.
had a resolution the night before that I drew up at the Human Rights Commission, which was much more balanced. It basically called for a ceasefire, which is what I think 18 members of Congress now are calling for. And it avoided all that divisiveness, it passed unanimously at the Human Rights Commission.
Great, that sounds good, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Let's move on to our agenda and hear from Graham. Are you still with us?
Yes, Phil. Thank you.
By the way, I went on the ship for the first time for the incredible movie after 30 years of living here, and you guys are amazing.
We're working hard. Phil, what I think most people realize is the huge contribution that Richmond made to the war effort.
Yeah.
747 ships in 4.5 years. We built one in 12 days. And it sailed around the Robert period. Off the top of my head, it was still floating about in the 1960s. Now, these things weren't sort of slung together, made of cardboard, one trip and they sank. They were really quality ships. And that's what we're trying to keep alive. The ability that Richmond was able to produce in such large quantities to support the war effort. So please, as Phil said, come and visit us. Which leads me to my next topic. We are back on a regular system for our movies. And the next one is on November the 16th. And this is a really great movie, The Best Years of Our Lives, which I'm sure if you haven't, I'm sure you've probably all seen it before since it's such a well-known movie. But do come and see it down on the ship. It's sort of fun to see it there in a World War II atmosphere. And then in December, a little earlier than normal, we're having the Christmas in Connecticut movie. Which is also a great sort of Christmas type movie to have. Admission is free, but we do ask for contributions. If you can spare $10, that'd be great. You know, guys like Phil can come down and spare $50. That's even better. We are now moving, starting November 1st, to our winter schedule, which is once again just open on Sundays, only from 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So once again, nice winter's day, come down and visit us, then go and see our compatriots over there at Riga's Loft and enjoy a post-visit drink. So once again, thanks for all your support. Phil,
Thank you, Graham.
I'm glad to hear you went down.
It's a labor of love. Thank you. Diane?
Yes, thank
There you
you.
are.
I'm here.
You keep bouncing around our screen. We gave up on the hats, huh?
Yes. I just wanted to say some of our members were able to work on all 4 gardens last Thursday in preparation for the incoming Fall Fest on Saturday. And we're really looking forward to it. We're going to have a table there to pass out bottled water and Halloween stickers and ink stampers for all. Also, recently the board has been talking about outdoor city tree lights for the holidays. Our member Doreen Lighton has contacted Green Forest Outdoor Light, who are in the business of Christmas light installation service. And she has set up a meeting on Monday, November the 13th, between 11 and 11:30 regarding the tree light estimates for future discussion with PRBA and PRNC. And I think she was going to see if Josephine would represent the PRBA. And for PRNC, I think, Philip, I talked to you, you're not going to be around. Is there someone you would want to recommend to meet with us?
Could you touch base with me again? And we'll see if one of our board members can come. Probably
Okay.
Margie would be a good
Okay.
choice.
Thank you. And then
Margie was influential in wrapping the trees, having the local businesses wrap the trees last year.
Okay. Oh, good. I will see her in a couple of weeks. So
Go ahead and reach out. And Diane, can I jump on your time for a quick second?
Sure.
Diane and I have also talked, and we will be reaching out to Public Works. For those of you who do not know, the retaining walls throughout the inner triangle surrounding the library building contain ground level lighting that has been closed up for years. So hopefully Diane and I discussed the possibility of finding out if the city can help us to fix those lights, or if the city electrician can advise us on what he or she, I'm driving Anna crazy. If the city electrician can tell us what they think needs to happen, and then maybe Women's West Side, the PRNC, the Business Association, or all of us can get together and put that ground level lighting back in again. We know that there's crime as well at night in that triangle, but also just to make it more attractive for the businesses and restaurants to have a little light.
And while you're doing that, there's ground level lighting at that Welcome to Point Richmond sign over by Cafe Roma and Gerard. And according to Andrew, it hasn't worked in years. So while you're asking them, remember that one, because it'd be nice to hook that back up too.
Peter, next time we're together, and I know we'll be together this weekend, let's walk that together, because you're a much more mechanically inclined person than I am, and you may have some concept of how this electrical might work. I've been gone. I'm sorry, I jumped in on your time.
That's okay. Thank you, guys. So in closing, I just wanted to say our November 7th membership meeting is our fall fundraiser, and we will have our 11:30 brown bag lunch, and then we're starting with the game of Bunko to follow. We are completely sold out to play the game, so we are really happy about that, and grateful to have the opportunity to raise monies for our local charities. So thank you so much.
Diane, the game you're calling Plunko, Plunko.
Bunko, B as in boy, UNCO. It's a little 3 dice game that we play. And it's fun.
Thank
You
you.
know, bunco used to be illegal. That's the whole bunco squad term.
Yeah,
That's
vice squad.
you,
Well,
you might actually want to check, see if it's still illegal in Northern California. So.
Or maybe not, Peter.
We've been doing it.
Or don't. Yeah, don't.
I don't think the Westside Women's Improvement Club would ever do anything illegal.
No.
I'm
Right?
pretty sure we don't have enough cops to arrest you anyway, so
Okay,
you're in the
thank
clear.
They used to raid the Baltic for gambling. They hauled my grandfather off a few times back in the
Wow.
40s and 50s.
Playing
The
Balto.
Baltic had a
Yeah,
lot of.
bunco was like the vice squad used to deal with that.
Oh
Bunco.
my gosh.
Well, we've been doing it for years, so they've had their chance.
There you go.
Us
And
ladies
now
in
on
jail.
to a
A local
100%,
tradition. That's all. Yeah.
a 100% legal activity, the table tennis with Peter.
I'm not saying that's totally legal either. So it turns out that I've been the table tennis club, which meets at the Point San Pablo Yacht Club on Cutting, has been competing with the Galileo Club's bocce ball games for the last, I don't know, years. And because the bocce ball tournament just ended, the league tournament just ended, Sean Dunning and his girlfriend showed up to play ping pong. And I got a couple of other new members or new visitors. So we're playing, everybody's having lots of fun. And Greg Larson has decided, my partner in table tennis crime, has decided to do his own Algonquin roundtable discussion at Hotel Mac on Mondays, competing with this. He thinks he's Dorothy Parker or something. So I'm not letting him win any more ping pong games. His days of winning are over. That's it. Anyway, come on down. The beer and wine is cheap, and we're all very friendly. Nobody's very good, so everybody has lots of fun.
I'd love to have a martini, 2 at the very most.
You should come
3,
down.
I'm under the table.
Have you
4,
ever
I'm under the
ever
host.
been in the yacht club?
I was giving you the best Dorothy Parker quote ever.
Oh.
Which I will repeat.
All right.
I love to have a martini.
All right.
2 at the very most.
Okay.
3, I'm under the table. 4, I'm under the host.
I like that.
All right.
Great, that's great. I love it.
Very,
I
very
wish
nice.
I wrote it. Rosie? Jim, are you still around?
Yeah, just a couple of quick announcements to remind you. Every Friday, we have actual Rosies who come to speak and answer questions. That's from 10:30 to 12:30. And also every Friday, we have Blossoms and Thorns, which is a representative to talk about Japanese relocation in World War II. And I should mention very quickly, I'm going to be giving my talk again on Filipinos in World War II on November the 9th at 2:30. I've had a number of people ask me to do that again, so I will be doing it on November 9th.
Thanks. I went to that talk and we have a big Filipino community and it was excellent, Jim.
I'm sorry, what's the time? You said 11:09. Is there a time?
I'm sorry, on November 9th, 2:30 in the afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Jim. Do we have any public forum?
I do.
Okay, Cordell?
Yeah, so I have some couple of ideas for future topics. So I wrote it down. So I was thinking at some point that this is a draft of possible speakers to invite. So one is to invite the folks from West County Wastewater District to tell us some more about flushable wipes and other things. So I was interested in hearing about that. So that's one. And then the second one is to have Dr. Hurst to come and speak to us about what's going on with the school district, because I know there's been some concerns, regarding what do you call it? Having the especially along like near the Washington Elementary, because there's been a concern, you get the idea. So that's one idea. And then the third
Thanks.
idea
And
was
Cordell,
yes.
I'd like to remind you, if you can connect me with Dr. Hurst, I think we would very much like to, and is a gentleman or a lady?
Gentlemen.
I think we would very much like to invite him to talk about that safety in around the elementary school.
Okay, I can do that. I can CC you an email. And the
Thank
third
you.
possible okay, and then the third possible speaker is to invite Miss Garcia to come and talk to us about the courses that they have at Contra Costa College, because retirees are looking for like activities like to stay focused. So that was one idea, and so those are the top three possible speakers to come. So I'll send you an email to Dr. Hurst tomorrow, and I'll CC you an email. That's it.
Thank you so much, Cordell. That's of super interest to all of us. Are there, and thank you, any more? Okay, we're almost caught up. Well, we're almost not too far over.
I did. I just have a very
Lisa has something.
I just have a very, very quick comment. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to say thank you, Cesar Zepeda, for everything the last 5 days and your effort. And that's all I really want to say. I don't want to belabor the point. I just want to say thank you.
Here, here.
Here, here.
Yay, yay.
Are there any celebrations or remembrances to cover?
Carlos Rico, the husband of my friend Saj Rico, passed away from cancer in the past week. So we should give him some remembrance.
We're sorry for your loss, Karen.
Yeah.
Right.
Any other remembrances? And celebrations, all kinds of things happening on Halloween. If for some reason you have not been to the children's Halloween parade, that is from 10 to 11 downtown, because you're new in town or whatever, if you can, it is the most adorable thing you will ever see. 375 little kids dressed in costumes. The PRNC will be distributing crayons and stickers this year at our booth in front of the art gallery. Thank you all. We are.
I just want to clarify, everything you talked about is on Saturday. There's nothing on Friday, the 27th, correct?
Correct.
There's
Not that I know of.
Friday, the 27th. Everything we've discussed is all Saturday, the 28th.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Right. So that is that's the Fall Fest, and then on Halloween, the Children's Parade.
Okay. But there is nothing on Friday.
Not that I'm aware.
In my mind, something on the 27th. Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is a reminder for membership. We combine the November and December meetings. Peter, am I correct? It's the first Wednesday of December?
December 6th.
I believe so, but I would double check with.
Okay, we'll send it out, of
all-knowing
course. So there
Charmaine.
is no November meeting because that would fall on Thanksgiving. And there's no December meeting because that would fall on Christmas or some other holiday. So we combine those two meetings and have one I'm pretty sure it's the first Wednesday, but we'll of course send out emails to remind you about that. And we will be sending out emails in the next, hopefully, few days or the beginning of next week with the information for the safety meeting on Monday, November 6th. Thank you all so much. We ran about 15 minutes over, but we got a lot done. Cesar, you must be exhausted. Thank you for being our audio visual guy, and thank you for your unbelievable dedication to your community. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.